One, a two, a one.
It's time for the Better Horses radio show. So let's saddle up and ride as we explore the Western way of life, horses and cows, family and friends, a relationship with the land, and a relationship with God. It's all here on Better Horses Radio. Now let's hit the trails with the Better Horses team.
And welcome to Better Horses Radio. I'm Ed Adams, and what a great lineup that we have this week. We're going to talk nothing but equestrian information. As you know, we spend a lot of time, we spend a lot of money on our animals. In fact, the economic impact study suggests that a minimum of upfront cost for to purchase a horse is likely to range somebody from $4,000 to $9,000. So we all know that's just the beginning. So you break that down and you're going to be spending a lot of money. So where do we spend it? Well, coming up, we've got an independent feed dealer out of Oklahoma that's going to give us a breakdown of what it takes to run a feed store and actually run horses and how to get those services done. And then we go over to Montana, where everybody wants to ride in Wyoming and do some cattle ranching. But have you ever heard of the Flint Hills? You know, it's one of the largest tall grass prairies left in the world, and you can still experience it on horseback. In fact, it's located on the North America center of Kansas and North Oklahoma. In fact, we're going to talk to Matt Jobe, the co-owner of the Flint Hills Ranching Adventures, and he's going to show you exactly how you can experience that right here in the Midwest. Justine Staten from Kansas State Horse Council is going to join us and talk us about Equifest, all coming up on Better Horses Radio. But we're going to take a quick pause as you hear from a good friend of mine, Pastor Steve Stafford from the Risen Ranch Cowboy Church in Carthage, Missouri.
Hey folks, good to be with you once again. You know, I'm always telling the church that sometimes the most spiritual thing that I can do is go take a nap. We all get that way, don't we? We get physically tired and then mentally tired and then emotionally tired. If we're not careful, then we become spiritually tired. Well, Jesus knows that, and the Bible says right here, He said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a remote place and rest for a while." Sometimes we need to do that. Sometimes we need to get away, either by ourselves, with our family, with some friends. Sometimes we just need to rest in the Lord. We just need to get away with Jesus and rest in Him. Hey, this is Steve Stafford. I'm the pastor at Risen Ranch Cowboy Church, very proud member of the Better Horses family.
And in this first segment is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. Unconditional commitment to continually innovate and improve the products and programs that impact the health of the well-being of horses. Check out Merck Animal Health at www.merckanimalhealth.com. And I want to let you know before we get started, we're going to talk to our Kansas State University Veteran Health Center Equine Tip of the Week, Dr. Adam Bassett. So before we get started, I wanted to say I really appreciate this young man joining us every week, Dr. Adam Bassett, who's coming to us from the Kansas State University Equine Tip of the Week, brought to you by Better Horses. And Adam, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. My pleasure.
Now, on average, a mare's pregnancy lasts about 338 days. Dr. Bassett, what tips can you give in caring for mares in the cold weather?
Sure. Well, and particularly in regards to pregnant mares, most mares this time of year, they're kind of in their late stage of pregnancy. And so there's, of course, a lot of fetal development going on inside. And then on top of that, they're having to deal with these extra cold temperatures that we just got out of last week. So importantly, and this applies to the general horse population as well, just make sure the mares have easy access to water and plenty of water, and make sure they're drinking water too. Just because they have access doesn't mean they're drinking. Make sure they have access to high quality hay and they're getting enough hay to eat. One of the main things at this point in a mare's pregnancy is to ensure that she's getting enough protein intake. Because, of course, you need the protein to help the baby to develop. And so if you can ensure these things for your mare in particular, not only will you help her to ensure that her foal will develop properly, and you may help to guarantee her to get to the foaling period, but you'll also make sure that she has enough energy and nutrients for herself, which is really important when she's trying to deal with the cold. And especially all that hay, that'll help keep her warm. And that applies to all horses too. If they have enough hay in the cold weather, that's how they stay warm. So.
Now, does it make sense to add sugar or salt additives to their drinking water? If you're looking at increasing the horse's intake.
Well, I would be careful adding, when you add stuff to the water, certainly you add some salt or something to try to make them want to drink it. And that's okay, but I'd be careful that you don't add too much to the water, because if you have too much salt in the water, they sure, they may drink more, but they may also become more dehydrated more quickly. So the main thing, especially in severe cold or even severe heat, is you don't want your horses to get dehydrated too quickly. And so, do whatever you need to do to try to help them drink water, but don't overdo it, so to speak, if that makes sense.
I know that forage is an important part of their total nutrition, but any special precautions to the amount of grain that we feed, and how much should we increase when a mare is in foal?
Oh, sure. Well, you may notice, especially in the later pregnancy stage, like most mares would be in this time of year, you may notice that they want to eat a little bit more because, of course, they're eating for two. And so you may need to increase their feed allotment a little bit. But the main thing to be sure of is that whatever you're feeding, it has good quality protein and a reasonable amount of protein as well. Exact measurements off the top of my head, I can't think for sure, but I think generally, we want to make sure the feed has about a 10% protein content, roughly that, but that is your main consideration. And so you may need to increase the amount of feed that they get periodically as they get closer and closer to the end of gestation, just because the baby is getting bigger and bigger and they're having to eat a little bit more. But one thing you may also notice, even though the mare may be eating a little bit more, she might be eating smaller amounts in one sitting, because of course you have a baby in there that's taking up a lot of space and making it a little bit harder to maybe eat a whole bucket of grain or however much you're feeding her at one time, and so it wouldn't be surprising if she needs to eat smaller amounts more frequently, but still over the course of the day would maybe take in a little bit more than what she might otherwise take in if she weren't pregnant. So, for example.
Now, before we wrap it up, your thoughts when stalling a mare and the type of bedding, and specifically the straw versus the shavings conversation everybody has.
Oh, sure. I recommend using straw when your mare's about to foal, and when she foals, have a nice thick bed of straw. The straw doesn't stick to the newborn foal quite as badly as the shavings do, and so it's easier to keep the foal clean. It from a biosecurity standpoint, it may be a little bit safer for the foal as well. Now, of course, once the foal gets a little bit older, they get dried off, and they're a few days old. If you don't want to keep having straw in the stall, then you could switch back to shavings. But certainly when the mare is ready to foal, I would recommend using a nice thick bed of straw.
And we've been talking to Dr. Adam Bassett, providing year-round reproductive services at Kansas State University Veterinary and Health Center. We'll be right back.
Internal parasite control is critical to your horse's health, but isn't always easy. Some worms are as stubborn as they are dangerous. Luckily, there's Panacur Fenbendazole from Merck Animal Health. It works in a powerful and extremely safe way, so it's tough on parasites but gentle on horses, making it a safe choice for foals, weanlings, and even thin or debilitated horses. Consult your veterinarian for assistance in the diagnosis, treatment, and control of parasitism, and ask how Panacur can become part of your deworming strategy. Learn more at MerckAnimalHealthUSA.com.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient, We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
Routine dental examination and treatments are essential for high-quality horse care. To prevent potential problems, a horse's mouth should be examined at least once a year. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins, Equine Field Service Veterinarian at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. We can examine the mouth and provide a treatment plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
It's time to go with United Mosquito and Fly Control's premier fly system for fly control in your barn, providing relief for horses from the stress of fighting flies, and also makes the barn more pleasant for everyone in the barn. Easy, effective, and safe. With United Mosquito and Fly Control, we provide a full service. You as the barn owner don't have to do anything. We go everywhere and take care of everything with our friendly fast service. Call today at 913-558-3814 or email Paul at unitedmosquito.com.
And welcome back to Better Horses. I'm Ed Adams. Really appreciate you listening to us on this show. And today we talked about the maintenance of horses and what it costs to maintain these things. And we've always been curious about what the cost is really going to be and how much we're spending throughout the year. What better way to have this come down is to actually talk to owners and operators of feed stores from across the country. But before we get into this segment, I want to let you know that the following segment's been brought to you by the Pinto Horse Association of America. And these are the Color Breed Congress and the Pinto World events that are coming on in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Check out, if you want to register to your Pinto or any solid breed horse, go to www.pinto.org. Owner and operator of Cook Feed and Outdoor in Oklahoma. I am pleased to have Mr. Steve Cook with us today. Steve, welcome to Better Horses.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
You know, you've got 4 locations in Oklahoma, Yukon, Norman, and Oklahoma City. I'm going to assume Remington Park is something that you add on there as one of your locations. This is, you've done a really great job in competing and servicing the equine community and competing with big box stores. So naturally, when we're spending as a horse maintenance cost averaging $3,600 to $5,500 annually, we always make these big decisions. Where do I go to get my stuff? And I'm talking feed, and I'm talking product lines, supplements, things of that sort. What makes it a big competitive field out there? And what are the things that independent feed stores have to do differently than the big box stores can't do?
I'd say definitely from a consumer standpoint, I would say that as a feed store owner, I would say that when a feed store person talks to you, that they're not crying to you saying, you know, you have to shop local, we support your kids and all those things. I think a lot of those things are true, but as far as the consumer standpoint, if your local feed store is dirty and they don't keep products in stock and all of that, I wouldn't recommend that you shop with them. But oftentimes these independent retailers are much more specialized. And when you're talking about to a horse owner, a specialized feed store into especially horses would be much more advantageous to you as a consumer than it would be to a box store. A box store is going to try to get the top, just small percentage, 5% of equine products, the top 5% of pet products, the top 5% of chicken products. So oftentimes they won't have a lot of those specialized weight gaining supplements or things like joint supplements, things like that you might be looking for.
So you bring up a very good point. So limited product lines in the equestrian world is naturally because you only have so much shelf space in any type of store. So how do you select your product lines? Is it based on demand or is it based on margins? How do you go about that?
Well, we're very different than most feed stores. A lot of feed stores around the nation, even, are not able to be as specialized as we are. In Oklahoma, we're one of the top 10 consistently, and sometimes top 5 states in the United States with horse numbers, and even past that in horse numbers per capita. So we're able to have a store that specializes only in equine. 80 to 85% of our sales come from just equine related products. Which is very different than a lot of other states. A lot of states, feed stores can't do that. So we select things that a horse owner needs. 80% of that is going to be feed and hay. So we carry many different lines of hay, many different lines of feed. We have over 80 different selections of horse feed. And then we carry a whole line of supplements and fly sprays and things like that past that. But we're very focused on nutrition.
If I can break this down to our listeners that are all across the country right now, you have a special situation where you're servicing thoroughbreds at the Remington Horse Park and racehorses, and then you're turning around and servicing the Lazy E Arena, which is nothing but ranch riding and a lot of rodeos that are available, and then your average consumer maintenance of just one or two horses out there. So you're seeing it from all aspects of horsemanship.
Yeah, we have some of the top barrel racers in the United States shop with us. We have some of the top reining farms. So we do a wide range of customers. We do a one horse owner all the way up to, like you mentioned, Lazy E, that oftentimes anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 horses. So we specialize in the horse industry, but we're very focused in the commercial, the horse farms that are wanting to make money. We call them commercial farms.
Okay, so let's break this down. And we talked about feeds. We talked about big box stores and things. Let's talk about freshness too, and turnover of that state. There's nothing more frustrating than getting a bag of feed that's been sitting on the shelf for like 3 to 4 months and turnover. That's a big concern for anybody that's running a boarding barn or that's competitive or anything. Where is the date of that feed? How does that compare for your situation and necessarily across the country too? How do people really turn over their product lines? And when is a good time to turn over your product lines?
So if you know anything about the economics of the feed industry, when you're talking about an independent dealer, they're typically going to have less than 15 stores or so. But when you get up into Tractor Supplies, Atwoods, things like that, they're going to ship feed into a distribution center most of the times. And so when they produce the feed at, let's use Purina as an example. Purina produces a feed for them. They ship it to a distribution center in Texas, and then from there they'll redistribute it out. So you've got a week or two lag, and then they're hosting that product, that bag of Purina Senior or whatever it might be, in their warehouse for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then they ship it to their store where who knows how long it sits. So when you ship feed or buy feed from a place that has a distribution center like a Tractor Supply or Atwood, something like that, it oftentimes can be a month or 2 months older than if you are buying it from an independent. So us as an independent, we get it directly from the mill, and then it goes into our warehouse and we ship from there, or load it to a customer from there. So you can have anywhere from a month to 2 months of a difference there. And you'll notice feed doesn't have an expiration date. It has a manufactured date. And so you'll notice when it starts getting 2, 3, 4 months old, Tractor Supply puts it on sale, and that's when you usually know it's getting pretty old.
Okay, so break this down. Talk to me like I'm a 2-year-old. How long can feed sit in a store before you have to be concerned about the quality?
Kind of industry standards, if it's somewhat climate controlled, and I'm not talking, it stays at 70 degrees year round, but it's inside of a building that's somewhat climate controlled. A pellet, I would recommend anywhere from 3 months from manufacture date is fine. A textured feed, you would want it to be a month or two, because it starts drying out, and or if it's too hot, you can have some molding issues with textured feeds because of the molasses amount in there. So I would say anywhere from 2 months to 3 months if it's a pellet, and then quicker than that if it's a textured feed.
Okay, now do they go out of their way to make the date on the bag as difficult as possible? And can you break that down for us? So you brought up Purina, so let's bring that up real quick. So if for all of us that feed out Purina, is a alphanumerical number there that makes no sense to the average guy. So from all our radio listeners out there, remember you're not on radio, we have no visual here. So kind of walk us through how you determine what the date of that bag is.
So there's a committee that voted this in with Purina, and what that committee decided is there's some crazy horse ladies, as we call them, and those are our dearest. Those are good customers for us, so we're not talking bad about them, but
Absolutely,
those are also your best customers here on this radio program. And so those horse ladies found out what the date is, and they go through the warehouse and they want the freshest bag. And so what Purina did is they wanted to make it a little bit more complex for the customers. So you can sell a first in, first out, which is proper selling technique. So what they do is there's a jumble of numbers on that bag. You'll notice a letter, and that letter code will be where the feed was manufactured at. So oftentimes it'll say FTW, which is one of their biggest plants, which stands for the Fort Worth Mill. Mm-hmm. And then you'll have a 3-digit code after that. That 3-digit code will be anywhere from 000 to 365. And so what that stands for is the day of the year. So in the regular calendar that we use, January 30th would be 30 days into the calendar. Well, then, or I guess to be 31st would be 31 days into the calendar. Then February 1st, we switch over to 2/1/2024. Well, in the Julian calendar, which is what they use on the Purina tag, it will actually be, that is day number 32. So it will say 032. So if you Google Julian calendar, you can actually just look it up there. It'll say February 12th is 45 days into the year. And so that'll tell you it's 045. So you can look at the manufacture date on there and see that 3-digit code and look up a Julian calendar and figure that out.
So you hit the manufacturing, where it was manufactured, and when the actual day of the year that it was manufactured, and then sent to the retail store.
Yep. And then it'll that's the day it was manufactured, not when it was sent to the retail store. We have no control that it might sit on the floor at Purina for 2 weeks before it's sent to the retail store. And then you'll also have another code on there that's when it was made. Different plants will have a little bit different nuances. So there's a St. Joe mill, there's a Shreveport mill. They might have a little bit different coding there. But usually you'll have a code there of what shift it was made on. So was it made on shift 1, shift 2? But they need those numbers to be able to track back exactly if they have an issue where it was made at.
Way more information than anybody ever wanted to know on the date of a Purina bag, and I'm sure other products are doing the exact same things. This is Steve Cook, owner and operator of Cook Feed and Outdoors of Oklahoma, doing a fantastic job going against big box stores. And Steve, I got to tell you, you're doing a fabulous job. Are you thinking about expanding into other states?
Yep, we'll be in Kansas City before you know it.
Okay, there's the plug. All right, Steve, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Hope to have you come back so you can explain more stuff in the feed industry for the independent feed store. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, stay with us. We're going to have more Better Horses coming your way. I'm Ed Adams. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Better Horses Radio. I can't tell you how much we appreciate all our listeners out there. And this radio show has been going on for over 20 years. We're going to talk about something very special to my heart. But before we get started, this segment is brought to you by Kleinsmith's Western Wear. They're located in Higginsville, Missouri. And I want to tell you, if you checked out anything, this is something you need to check out. They have over 30,000 pairs of boots, 200 brand names, and a 40,000 square foot building. And if you want the largest selections of boots and Western wear, it's extensive, and it's located in Higginsville, Missouri. For those that are not out in the Missouri area, you're more than welcome to check out their website. And if you can't spell like I can't, it's called kleinboot.com. That's KLEIN boot.com. Kleinsmith's Western Wear. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, everyone loves to go to Montana, and everybody loves to go to Wyoming, and it's a great place to ride, and it's a good place to do cattle ranching. But not everyone's heard of the Flint Hills. Now, if you haven't heard of the Flint Hills, it's one of the largest tall grass prairies left in the world today. And you can experience this on horseback. And for everybody to get geography together, the prairie and the tall grass is located in central North America, centered around Kansas and northern Oklahoma. In fact, we're going to talk to someone who is the co-owner of the Flint Hills Ranching Adventures. He's a professional horse trainer. And welcome to our show, Matt Jobe. Matt, welcome to the show.
Howdy, y'all. Thank you.
So, Matt, I got to tell you, I'm excited about this because, everyone gets excited about going out west, but there is something really special out here in the Flint Hills that very few people get to experience, and you're kind of the ringleader of introducing the Flint Hills to a lot of people on horseback.
Yes, sir. I love being out in the Flint Hills. I am from Missouri. However, I have a partnership with Rex Bookman, and we run a lot of cattle for a lot of people, and we take out a lot of customers, and they get to do ranching, real live ranching for a couple of days and get to see what we do and how we do it and how it was done 100 years ago.
So talk to me about Flint Hills Ranching Adventures. This is kind of somewhat of an organized event, is it not?
Yes, sir, it is. So the Flint Hills itself has 4 million acres, and it stretches all the way down to Oklahoma. And it's known for blue stem grass and some of the best prairie grasses there are. And so cattle come in from everywhere, like cattle. You mentioned Montana. Oftentimes we have cattle down here from Montana, it's a bunch of yearlings. And it's pretty easy for them to gain 2.3 pounds per day on just this prairie grass and untouched, nothing else. And so that's a big deal. However, it's only good for about 6 months out of the year, just the growing season. And so what we do at Flint Hills Ranch and Adventures, we're taking care of these cattle anyway. My partner Rex has some of his own cattle out there. He lives out there. Well, what we do is we're doing our jobs horseback. There's a lot of places in these Flint Hills that you cannot get to by trucks or four-wheelers anyhow. And so we utilize our horses every day. Well, we invite guests to come out, and we take guests on 2-day events. And those 2-day events range from anything to we brand in the spring and fall. We also, like I mentioned, these cattle come in from everywhere. We have to drive them out via pushing them with horses, drive them out to their summer pasture. And that may be 10 miles away. We have a drive that's 17 miles away.
Now, a lot of people can't visualize this, but you can imagine being on horseback, and it's literally a sea of prairie where you can't see anything else. And it's just you and the cattle. And so you break that down into cattle drives and branding. And talk to me about the cattle drives. Where are we going, and how much of a group of people do you take that are experienced and inexperienced?
Yep. So we have our core group that works on the ranch. So we can pretty much handle whatever has to be handled. But we typically invite 10 guests to come along. And how that plays out is on day one, we teach them about cattle handling, how we want to handle our cattle. And we teach them about cattle handling, make sure they're mounted well. Most of them bring their own horses. We do have horses for rent if need be. We just kind of fill them out, see their riding ability, because we'll pretty much help anyone, whether they're beginner all the way to advanced. Teach them how to read cattle, how a cow's going to move, what they're thinking, and kind of get a handle on the cattle day one. And then day two, we'll be up early. And in the spring, we drive them out to the grass, 10 to 17 miles, depending on where their pasture is. And like you mentioned, these pastures are huge. Over in Missouri, we have a lot of, 100 acres, 200 acres, even some 400 or 500 acre pastures. Out in the Flint Hills, it's hard to find a pasture that small. You'd almost call it a trap, not a pasture. And so a lot of these pastures we go in start at 2,000 acres, 5,000 acres, we even go into one 10,000 acre pasture. And when you're crossing those 5,000 and 10,000 acre pastures, you don't even see a fence line. You don't see a tower. You don't see a road. You don't see anything. Just God's beautiful country, beautiful rolling hills, and it's pretty amazing out there.
Now, break that down as to horse ownership. I get out there for the very first time. We've seen this a number of times. Horses get very, very excited when they see that much open land. How long does it take for them to calm down before they get settled in?
Yeah, so every horse is different, and that's one thing Rex and I like to focus on. We like to help people with their horsemanship. They're coming to, drive cattle and experience some of the old ways. But to us, you have a lot more fun on a horse if you're having safety on your horse. And so we spend a lot of time communicating with them. Every horse is different, so we try to help them. Sometimes they need to, move different body parts of the horse. Sometimes they need to zigzag in the back, driving the cattle. That's a good way on a high energy horse. Sometimes they simply need to get out of the horse's way. Sometimes they're holding the horse too tight, and the horse is building more and more anxiety. And so we like to take some one-on-one time as we're traveling across there and help the individuals with their horsemanship that need it and that want it.
So you talked about your driving cattle. I mean, you're on your horseback for a long ways. I mean, we're talking 17 to 20 miles, just one way driving cattle.
Yes, sir. Every drive's different. Like I said, they range from 10 to 17 miles. And, but yes. And, everyone always asks, how long will this take? Well, it's kind of up to the cattle.
Yeah.
Sometimes we've had some great cattle in the spring. Sometimes we've had some awful cattle in the spring that just unloaded off the truck. They've never seen a horse, probably haven't seen a whole lot of human. And, it takes longer whenever you're scattering them across 10,000 acres. And, so yes, but to answer your question, kind of average, you can usually get it done in 6 or 7 hours.
There you go. So you're doing branding, you're doing cattle driving, you're doing roping. And then all of a sudden, if you get really, really good, you put together something that is called the Cowboy Camp Competition.
Yes, sir. And so we'll back up 1 second here. The opposite of our spring drives is our fall drives.
There you go.
So the fall drives, the cattle are already out there. They've already had their summer pasture, but now it's October, grass isn't growing. We need to get them off and ship them wherever they're going. Sometimes yearlings are going to feedlots. Sometimes they're going to their new owners. Sometimes they're replacement heifers and they're just going back to the ranch they came from. And so the fall drives are just reverse. We'll start 17 miles away or 12 miles away, and we'll bring them back to different pens that we can load them into semis and ship them where they're going. So same thing, just reverse.
There you go. So
yes, sir.
Yeah, then you go right into it. I took that away from you. Talk to me about the Cowboy Camp Competition. What is that all about?
Yes, so I've competed in EXCA and UHCA and stuff like that, where it's an obstacle competition, and always had a lot of fun doing that. And I wanted it to be, sometimes some competitions get a little more and more showy, and so you got to have things that people can see in the cameras and the videos. So sometimes they get noodles out and they get different things like that. And I wanted to have a competition that was just purely ranch related. And so this will be our 4th year. And so 4 years ago, I said, hey, let's do Cowboy Camp Competition. And we call it a Cowboy Camp because it's also educational. We take people out for 4 days and 4 nights. And so we set up camp. And every morning, someone's cooking breakfast over the open fire. That's actually one of the competitions. And we eat that day, and then we get to work. So we're normally riding over the hills as the sun's coming up. An amazing, beautiful sight, by the way. And then we're going about our daily competition. So each day we have at least one competition. And what we do is we educate them on how we do it. So like there's always cattle to sort. There's always strays in our pasture or someone else's pasture. So usually we'll have like a sorting competition. We show them how we sort, and then one at a time, we teach each individual there in the competition. Normally we accept 12 applicants. So one at a time, they will sort cattle, and then we'll judge them on it. And so at the end of the day, whoever had the high score, they win the prize for that particular event. Now this goes on for 4 days. So we'll have different things like roping, we'll have sorting, we'll have an obstacle competition, but it will be all ranch related. Like you'll be going through creeks, and we do shoot guns because if you know anything about me, you know that I love mounted shooting. So there will be guns involved, and that's pretty cowboy. I mean, We started cowboying with guns. And so over the course of the 4 days, we'll have half a dozen competitions. And these competitions will all be scored. There'll be prizes awarded for each competition. And then at the end, we award a top hand and top 3 places. But the top hand leaves with a belt buckle saying he's top hand, she's a top hand. They'll leave with all kinds of prizes. I have some big prizes this year, but I can't release them just yet because we're finalizing and with the vendors and such. But there's going to be some amazing prizes this year. And throughout that time, we have, build great friendships, great bonds. At nighttime, we have campfires. Sometimes we have different people come in and play guitar and sing and different things. And we really learn a lot. We really build better horses, and we really have a good time doing it.
You're listening to Matt Jobe at the Flint Hills Ranching Adventures, and we're talking about the Flint Hills today. Now, as we walk through this and I listen to you, the first thing coming through my mind is, how do I prepare for this on my horse before I get out there? And what type of experience do I need before I get out there? Now, I'm not talking about the cowboy camp. Now, I know you've got a lot of driving and you've got a lot of branding going on. As a trainer, anything that you should suggest to these teams coming out here for the very first time?
Yeah, just basically ride your horse and get better communication with them. And I hate the word broke, but we all know the word broke. Get them more broke. And by that, I mean, get them more trained. They shouldn't just be a mess. They should, when you pick up on a rein, they should give to that rein. When you add a leg on, it shouldn't mean, hey, run 90 miles an hour. It should mean, hey, I need to scoot over. I need to get off your leg. And so many simple things that we overlook, that makes a better horse. And then whenever you get out here in a situation, you can control your horse. You can get your horse doing what you want it to do. And so like I said earlier, we'll take all levels and we'll work with whatever level they are. And we can even rent them a horse. But the more prepared you are as far as riding your horse, using your horse, introducing it to obstacles, introducing it to cattle, just introducing it everywhere you can and getting it to respond to your legs, to your hands, to your seat. Makes a lot better horse. It makes it a whole lot easier to go have fun on.
Now, if you're listening to this segment here with Matt Jobe, the first thing you're going through, okay, when can I go do this? So let's get some details here. Going to grass, I'm assuming that's going to be your first cattle drive, will be April 28th through the 29th. And then you're going to follow that up on the 30th with a 17-mile drive. And then on March 5th and 6th, you're going to go into some branding. And then you're
May.
I'm sorry, I said March, right? Thank you. That's why you corrected me. So in May 5th and 6th, that'll be branding. And then the cowboy camp competition that you mentioned is going to be June 14th through the 17th. And that's all going to be at the Flint Hills. Matt, how can they get details of getting a hold of you and signing up for these events? What's the first place they have to go to?
Yes, sir. So we only run a Facebook page, and it is Flint Hills Ranchin', no G on the end of it, Flint Hills Ranchin' Adventures. And so all the details are on there, or feel free to call me, Matt Jobe, at 660-537-9542. Be glad to answer any questions you have and get you hooked up.
And to go full transparency on the Flint Hills Ranching Adventures, to get an idea of Cowboy Camp, you can go to our YouTube channel and check out the Cowboy Camp competition that we actually featured on the Better Horses TV show. And we had Matt Jobe in there. It is truly a great event. You get to be one with your horse. And if you talk about bonding with your horse for 4 days in June, this is the thing to go to. And again, we're talking about the Flint Hills Ranching Adventures. We're talking about the Flint Hills. We're talking about professional horse trainer Matt Jobe. Get a hold of him. And if there's anything I can tell you that this is something new and different. And Matt, your final closing, I want to ask you a question. If I just have an arena horse, and I know you gave us all those great prep, but I'm still a candidate to get out there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. Matt, thank you for joining us.
Yep.
We appreciate that. I know you're out there. You're going to get out there and go riding, and you're out there standing in your indoor arena. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate you breaking for us.
You bet. Happy to be here.
All right, everyone. Well, stay with us. You're going to hear more about Better Horses Radio. We've got some great guests coming up right after this, right after these messages. I'm Ed Adams, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dylan Luter, a specialist in equine performance medicine at the Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. Our new service focuses on lameness diagnosis, advanced imaging, physical therapy, and regenerative medicine for horses with injuries preventing them from performing at their best. We can treat a variety of conditions and design a customized rehabilitation plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
Hi, I'm Tommy with Heritage Tractor. Whether you're looking to maintain your yard or your whole ranching operation, Heritage Tractor has John Deere mower and tractor packages that make work fly by. With a variety of horsepower and attachment configurations, we have a package to best fit your needs and budget. To learn more about these exclusive packages, visit us in store or online at heritagetractor.com.
Legendary products, extraordinary service, that's our heritage.
Established in 1956, the Pinto Horse Association of America was formed to welcome all types of equines and maintain their show records and pedigrees. PTHA currently has over 88,000 members with 157,000 registered Pintos. There are currently 3 separate registries: the Color Registry, the Solid Registry, and the Long Ear Registry. We welcome all levels of competition within a family-friendly environment. Become a member, register, and add value to your horse. For more information, check out the website pintoworld.com. Runny nose, cough, fever. It's flu season for humans and horses. Like human flu vaccines, equine flu vaccines must be updated to protect against the flu strains circulating now. Merck Animal Health's flu-containing vaccines include the most current flu strains, protecting your horse from illness and time-missed training because of it. Talk with your veterinarian about Prestige flu vaccines and learn more about the science of advanced protection at prestigevaccines.com.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
It's time to go with United Mosquito and Fly Control's premier fly system for fly control in your barn, providing relief for horses from the stress of fighting flies, and also makes the barn more pleasant for everyone in the barn. Easy, effective, and safe. With United Mosquito and Fly Control, we provide a full service. You as the barn owner don't have to do anything. We go everywhere and take care of everything with our friendly fast service. Call today at 913-558-3814 or email Paul at unitedmosquito.com.
And welcome back to Better Horses. We appreciate everybody listening in and wanted to let you know that we've got your calendars are being filled. We know they are, and we're going to ask you to put one special event on that calendar. And with me today, joining me is Justine Staten at the Kansas Horse Council. And Justine, first of all, thank you for joining us here on Better Horses. We appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
So there is a lot of events, as we just talked about. Everybody's filling their calendars. You've got a lot of shows to go to. I got a lot of clinics I want to go to, but we're going to talk about something that's happening in March 14th through the 17th at the Livestock Expo Center in Sedalia, and walk us through in Salina.
Yep.
So, yep, I knew I'd get one of them correct. So in Salina, Kansas, I was on the other side.
Yep.
Walk us through that.
All right. Well, yeah, we are going to do full day opening on Thursday, March 14th. We're going to kick it off with our live horse judging contest that's sponsored by KQHA and KQHYA. It's going to be a joint contest along with serving as the state 4-H horse judging contest. So lots of youth will be on site for that. We're going to follow that up with a team competition starting out. We've got lots of great clinicians. I'll share those with you. We've got Guy McLean coming, Julie Goodnight, Jerry Diaz, Stacy, and Nicholas Diaz, the whole Diaz family. We've got Sally Batten coming back and Patrick Sullivan coming back. So a lot of great educational clinics and entertainment to boot. Thursday night, I'm super excited. We've got something very special planned. We've got sort of a variety show. We tried this in 2023. It was successful. We're taking that again to 24, and it's going to be a night of, I don't know how you put it, cultural experience of horsemanship. So we're bringing in the Diaz family to kind of give us the Charro, Vaquero, Portuguese demonstrations. We've got Guy McLean with his Aussie Liberty presentations, and we've got some Native Americans joining us this year. We've got Reuben Littlehead and his son and friend, the horse dancers, and we've got the Red Hawk family coming to us from South Dakota. So they're going to present on their heritage breed Appaloosas that go back to Chief Joseph lineage.
Wow, there's over 15,000 attendees each year, but this is not just learning and clinicians. There's some great shopping that can go on here, and you can really get yourself all tacked up for the year. Walk us through how big these booths are.
Most definitely, and we are pretty much sold out this year, which is always nice.
Right.
We have 3 main vendor areas, actually really kind of 4. And so we take up both the Tony's Pizza Event Center campus as well as the Saline County Expo Center campus. We've got vendors on the concourse surrounding the big arena at what we call TPEC, Tony's Pizza Event Center. We also have a main vendor hall called the Great Plains, GPMCH for short, Great Plains Manufacturing Convention Hall, and that is wall-to-wall vendors. We have vendors outside in front of the Ag Hall, which is the indoor arena on the Saline County Expo side. And we also have vendors inside the doors of the Expo Ag Hall. So not only that, we also have the 4-H building filled with vendors, and that's also a stage presence for workshops, music, entertainment as well. So they are spread out throughout the campus. We've got food trucks outside as well. For foodies and shoppers, this is the place to be. It's all things horse and all things in addition to horse that you might want.
We're talking to Justine Staten at the Kansas Horse Council, and we're talking about the Equifest that is going to be March 14th through March 17th in Salina, Kansas. And there's also some great educational and workshops that are going to be going on top of this. This is on top of the clinics, and you can catch and get some clinics and educational workshops on top of this.
You bet. Yeah, we've got workshops that'll be happening on the 4-H stage as well as upstairs in the Tony's Pizza Event Center in the workshop rooms. Great setting for like a lecture session. We will have Robert Eversole in there. I want to be sure to mention him. He's got a large presence with our trail riding enthusiasts, and he's going to be doing 6 workshops throughout the weekend. We've got Julie Goodnight doing 3, and Sally Batten will be doing a couple, as well as their workshops. We're going to put a few of them on the stages in a panel session so we can really kind of hear some casual conversation between clinicians, kind of sharing their areas of expertise. I'm really looking forward to that. We've got NATRAC that's going to do a demonstration, North American Trail Riding Conference, excuse me. That's the full name of it. I get caught up in acronyms, and so it's easy for me to roll the letters off. Anyhow, they're going to be doing a presentation on what is competitive trail riding in the arena. We'll also have our Mounted Color Guard, the Fort Riley Commanding General's Mounted Color Guard, coming back again with us this year, and the American Freedom Drill Team riders. So in addition to that, we'll have some breeds on display.
The hardest working person in Kansas is Justine Staten at the Kansas Horse Council. Every state wants to have a horse council like Kansas. So get out there and support them. And that is going to be Equifest of Kansas. And again, from March 14th through March 17th. Justine, thank you for joining us. I know that was quick. I appreciate all that fast and furious information coming your way. But again, we appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the events that are coming around the Midwest and around the country, actually. So if you want to get some more events, hey, the Lazy E Arena is hosting the 2024 Cinched Time events in Guthrie, Oklahoma, from February 29th all the way to March 2nd. Now, this rodeo's top 20 timed event cowboys in the world are going to compete in all 5 timed events. And if I remember that right, it's going to be heading and tie down and heeling and steer wrestling and steer roping over 5 rounds. It's going to be pretty exciting against the Cinched Time Event Championship in Guthrie, Oklahoma. Missouri Ranch Horse Association is going to begin their first show with working ranch and stock type horses March 8th through March 10th. Check it out at the National I'll say it right, National Equestrian Center at Lake St. Louis, Missouri. Hey, I want to thank you for listening to Better Horses Radio. If you haven't checked us out yet, you can look at our website at betterhorses.com. We just rolled out the Better Horses Winter Edition newspaper, and it's out and it's going to all the stores around the Midwest. If you want to subscribe to the Better Horses newspaper, check us out at betterhorses.com. We also have the Better Horses television show on RFD, the Cowboy Channel, and now streaming on Equus TV. If you missed any of our shows, check us out on YouTube. And you know what? That's our show. And as my old partner used to say, he'd love to close out the show by saying, we hope you're all good buckaroos and buckarettes out there. Mind your mom and dads and be brave, but don't take any chances. Until next time, I'm Ed Adams. Happy trails. And always ride for the brand.